Bill 239 amends the County of Hawaii General Plan as adopted by Ordinance Number 05-25 as amended relating to the comprehensive review of the general plan, allows comprehensive review and 10 years after adoption of the previous comprehensive amendments rather than to be submitted to the County Council within that time frame. Reference Communication 819, introduced by Mr. Kern by request to approve PC 65.
Mr. Kern.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Move to approve Bill 239.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Iligan. Any discussion? Ms. Willie.
Okay. Yes, I would like to make a motion to amend that draft with the contents of communication number 819.1. And it's in your pink folder if you haven't seen it. And if...
Okay, we would need a second for you to... Seconded by Mr. Onishi. Go ahead, Ms. Willie.
Okay. Basically what this does is it puts an end date, but it puts an end date at which point prior to submitting it to the council. The other one, which was long, there was I think it's a 120-day period that's for the county council to respond. So it's basically just giving the administrative procedures sufficient time to bring a plan forward. It allows them to start right now. It still says that they need to start. It says they can. The original bill had initiated not more than 10 years after, which would be February of next year. I think I've followed the general plan through a lot, and if you read it and you read it, there's a lot of the importance of getting things done. Each of the provisions provides, or many of them, up to so much time for the planning commissions, up to so much time, that the emphasis was on accountability. I am disturbed that the planning department has not been doing annual reviews. I was disturbed back, I think it was 2004, 2006, where they wanted to eliminate those procedures. And I just think, the general plan is right under our charter in terms of we have the charter, then we have the general plan of the overarching principles. As part of that is the CDPs. Under that is the CIPs and the capital improvement projects and all of the zoning, subdivision, and elsewhere. So we went through the different time periods that would be required and that are mandated, such that if one were to proceed at this time, that all of those time periods would be provided for. So I could go through more detail, but basically I think that the intent was to have accountability, the intent is to have an end date, and this would not, this time period would be, I think it allows some, can't remember how much additional time is allowed in here for scheduling or difficulties. It does exclude the time that the county council is given, which would remain 120 days. We would still be set at that. So that's the intent here, and I yield, and I'll answer any questions anyone has or concern.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Willie. Mr. Kern.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I ask Ms. Willie a question?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Willie, the way I understand this, it would give the planning department 1 year, basically, to do their comprehensive review, because the general plan says every 10 years, so let's assume that they would do it 10 years or right before that, and then you're saying they have to provide it to the council no later than 11 years. So is that your intention, to basically give them 1 year to do that?
No, it would be, if they didn't start until next year, they would only have 1 year. But if they, in other words, they don't, the 10 years is February of next year. I'm trying to get them going soon. It gives them like 60 or 90 days to start in, and then each of those periods after that is a mandatory no greater than. So I included each of those mandatory no greater than.
Okay, so for this year is one thing, but this would go into effect and be law for every cycle.
It would
Which
always
would
give
essentially
them,
say you have the general plan is supposed to be reviewed every 10 years, and you have 1 year to
they
give it
can
back to council.
start in, there's nothing saying you have to wait. The whole plan when it was devised was the every 10 is that they're working on it within those latter years. You don't wait till after the 10 years have passed.
Right, okay, so talking to the Director Kanuha last time, he was saying it's about, there he is. Director Kanuha. Director Kanuha. Good morning. Could you please come forward? You're perfect timing. Have you had an opportunity to see the amendment? Would you please identify yourself?
Good morning, council members. I'm looking at it right now. 11 years, okay. So functionally, what this amendment means is that...
Identify yourself.
I beg your pardon?
Identify yourself. Introduce.
Dwayne Kanuha, Planning Director. So essentially, what this amendment means is that overall, it'll be a year, right? If this amendment passes effective February 15th, then by February 2016, the comprehensive review would have to be put before the council. That's correct? Okay.
That's what I understand too, and this would also go into effect for the next time, because general plan says to be a review every 10 years, which would assume you start about the
Correct.
9.5, 10th year time frame, and then this would say you'd have a year after that
Okay.
to get it to us. That's the way I'm reading it. You read it the same?
The comprehensive review, well, the general plan itself has a specific section on the amendment process. It's section 16.1. And there's several levels of amendments, general plan amendments. There's a comprehensive review, which is the one that the department does, every 10 or 11 years now. And then there are interim reviews, which can happen any time when that comprehensive review is not going on. And there are specific amendments that may be requested at any time by private property owners, etc. Now, the amendment procedure also requires, it has specific timeframes in there, but it also has requirements for the adoption of rules and regulations by both our department and the planning commissions as to how they go through this amendment process. So basically, I don't have a problem. I can see what the council's trying to accomplish here, but the way the rules and actually the comprehensive review reads right now, there's two big time components that are taken up. I mean, it's mandatory. That's what the ordinance is. And the first one is that the council has 140 days to provide recommendations to us once we start that. And then the second one is, once all of the amendments get to the planning commission, they have 150 days to act. So if you disregard all of the various stages within there,
almost a
public
year.
meetings, inputs, and stuff like that, you got a year
Right there, yeah.
on the outside.
Okay, so my question to you is, this amendment introduced by Ms. Willie, do you support it or do you not support it?
I don't support it.
Thank you very much. I'll yield at this time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Court. Ms. Eoff.
Mr. Kanuha, would there be a time frame that you would support? if we, rather than leaving it open-ended, because there is a concern that by only, the amendment as we're looking at it now in Bill 239 requires that a comprehensive review shall be initiated not more than 10 years after the date of adoption of the previous amendments. But there's no end date. It says it shall be initiated, but there's nothing even indicating when the council would see that. So I'm wondering, is there a problem with leaving it open-ended like that?
Well, I'm just assuming that you have this timetable that was attached
Yeah.
to the communication. And this is a 4-year timetable, but I think if you go through it, you'll see that we'll probably, this includes getting it all the way up
I'm taking that out.
to the council, so it will get up to the council according to step 4, if you look at it, early in year 4. Okay. This is a colored version of what you have up there. The time frame that we think has flex in it is this component right in the middle. And that's the time when we take all of your input, all of the community's input, and put that together and do our analysis of that. So as you can see, that that's stretching out for maybe a year and a half, 2 years. As I indicated earlier, at the last time I testified, I expect this to be compressed quite a bit because of the CDPs. So the actual review of the general plan itself, as I indicated before, the policy statements, those would be the ones we'd look at, but the real detail that the general plan currently has now, it's already been incorporated, a lot of it, into the CDPs or the new CDPs. So the focus on that kind of detail won't be found in this particular review. Yeah. So that's why I expect this to be compressed quite a bit. So 3 years to get, maybe less than 3 years to get to the council is, in my opinion, a realistic time frame.
And then if that seems realistic for this particular 10-year review period,
Yes.
would that be the same for the 10 years after that, or would that just be something you'd have to consider at that time? Or
I think
Somewhat, but not.
I think it would probably be the same.
more realistic?
More realistic, mainly because right now the general plan has all of the policy stuff and has all the details of how the policy elements affect each district. A lot of that now has been encapsulated in the CDPs. So that data won't need to be reassessed. If anything, the reassessment of that would come from the CDP level, and not the real comprehensive overall view.
Which you stated could take place at any time.
Yeah, and that could take place at any time.
I'd like to respond to.
Okay, I'll yield.
Okay. Ms. Willie.
Yeah, I want to say that in the time frame I had, it includes all of the mandatory times plus an additional 30 days. It excludes the county council time. So when
Okay.
you're looking at that 120 days, I'm just getting it up to the point and without any scheduling of getting it onto our agenda. I would be willing to change this to the 12 years. I just think it's inexcusable to allow it to go further. I think that would leave over a year, like close to 400 days over and above what should have been done. I mean, I'm disappointed that it wasn't being worked on, that we're already up to the line. I mean, if you went through the discussions back then, it was that it would be like 3 years prior to the date it would be being worked on. And I agree that it's not, we're not going to be reinventing this and rewriting it, and we have all of these different commissions. I would love to see the Cultural Commission, I would love to see the Transportation Commission, the different groups start working on these things right away. I don't see them as needing to say, okay, we wait until next February. I sort of looked at it as, let's start working on it as of July. So I would entertain an additional, to be open to an additional amendment, but I really think, at going beyond 12 years is really unnecessary. So I'll open to hearing more, but I just really think if you went back then, it was really, let's really work on this. We've got groups. Extending these periods for the, it just seems really unnecessary to me, and let's move along. We didn't do the right thing the way it was supposed to be, and now we're at let's change it at the last minute. I think this is where we ask the planning department to be accountable, and I think that that's important. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Willie. Mr. Lagon, followed by Mr. Kern.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I ask Councilmember Willie a question?
Yeah.
Councilmember Willie, are you open to amend it to the 14 years?
14 years?
Yeah.
No, I was saying change it to 12 years.
How about 13?
Well, if I need that to count votes, I would, but no, otherwise. Let's go, I think, I'd like to start in July. I mean, I'd like to start where we're starting now. In other words, when we're looking at our period of years, not from whenever you count these years as you're reading it in this, it's really would be like from next February. So
You would have
taking
to,
into account we already have an extra.
You would really have to specify that. But I do want to show you my support at 14 or 13. It's up to you.
I'm not sure I'm going to, who knows whether we're, that's a long time. Anyway, I would, I'm willing to amend it and basically put an additional year and a half in. And then if they're not done, they can't, but at least we're getting started and doing something. We're like giving an extra year of the mandatory times. Keep in mind, each of these things say no longer than, in order to move it along. So I'm willing to give only as much as I absolutely have to here. But again, I would like the
Councilmember Willie, my
department.
question is no longer. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Mr. Kern.
Thank you very much. I understand where you're coming from, Ms. Willie. I do on that. I think it gets challenging, though, when we're asking somebody to do more than they are actually saying it's going to take. When someone's coming in and saying it's going to take X amount of time to do this, we can crunch it, and then we're going to set them up for failure by issuing policy that's even tighter than they're ever saying they could do. I think in something like this, what can they do? We're getting that 3 to 4 year period. We should work with them on that. It would just be the same as saying, I want somebody to build me a house. They tell me it's going to take a year, and I say, no, you have to build it in 4 months. It's just not realistic. It's going to fail, and I don't want to set anybody up for failure. But we can have it so it's accountable. The challenge is right now is that we have this review, which you're talking about, the July, February, and then we're also in this setting policy for future ones. So I think we need to look at it overall and do something that's achievable. So Director Kanuha, would 3 years be achievable if we said, they're initiated every 10 years, and on the 13th year,
Yes.
presented to council?
Yes.
That's achievable.
Yes.
Much less than that, would that most likely be setting you up for some type of failure?
what'll happen is we can, we'll probably do what we need to do to comply, which means that it'll come up to the council, and you will have to deal with all of those issues that we couldn't deal with because we are under a time frame.
So in turn, it'll become less comprehensive,
Yes.
basically, which is what we need. So with that, I move to amend Bill 239-14 and amend the contents or amend communication 819 more than 11 years to strike out 11 and put 13. So then it would read, and submitted to the county council not more than 13 years after the date of adoption of the previous amendments.
Okay.
Okay,
I would need a second for that.
okay, with discussion on the amendment. Miss Ford is next in line. Yep.
I haven't had a chance to talk on the first one. Okay. I'm philosophically opposed to what we are doing. I come from the private sector. If there's a joke, why don't you tell us all? I wish you would control the two over there. Really,
looking-
it's so rude to have you
Point of,
just...
point of order. You're gonna call me on this. Whatever. You do that
Hold
all
on,
the
hold on,
time.
hold
You
on, hold on,
smirk. You give
hold
all
on.
of these things, and I'm over there. I'm talking to Mr. Iligan in private, not giving you any faces, and you do that to us all the time. That's
Stop.
enough
Hold on.
already.
Okay, let's move. Let's focus. Miss Ford, go ahead.
Okay. What I'm about to say, I'm not directing at Director Kanuha. You inherited a mess, okay? Philosophically, I'm opposed to having a mandated thing where you've got 10 years, and of those 10 years, 6 of them are under the current administration, and 0 has been done for 6 years, and now they get up to the deadline and say, no can do. No can do. This has already failed. It's going to fail in 3 more years if we don't give them enough time. It's already a failure. And from the private sector where I come from, you don't transfer a person who fails. You don't promote a person who fails. You terminate a person who fails, especially when I'm not talking about you. I am not talking about you. Especially when they've got 6 years to take care of something and they've done 0 and come up and say no can do. Philosophically, if I vote for this, I'm tossing out what was mandated, what the people expect. That is, every 10 years, we the council, are going to get a comprehensive amendment and amendments to the general plan. We've received nothing. In addition to that, this administration has done nothing to rectify this situation. Nothing in 6 years. Therefore, and there's no teeth in this to say what'll happen if you don't comply. Well, we'll just give them more time. How many years are we going to give them? This will say 3 years now, 3 extra years, but it means nothing because there's no accountability. There hasn't been in the last 6 years, there's no accountability now, and there won't be any accountability 3 years from now. There's a lot of things that could be done, but one of the things we heard is 2 of the CDPs are not even completed yet. That's Hamakua and Ka'u, not done. And we heard the last time that until those get done, this won't even start. This won't even start. I cannot bring myself to vote for this amendment because all we're doing is saying it's okay to fail 100%. It's okay not to even try. This is not reasonable. This is not reasonable. I realize this council's going to pass this. I realize they're going to pass this bill, but that's not it's not what the people expect of us. They expect us to do our jobs. They expect the administration to do their jobs and not do 0 and then come up at the last minute and say no can do. I won't support this. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Poindexter.
Okay, Mr. Kanuha, is it right that within the 6 years, there were, on the CDPs, that was an additional task that the planning department took on? Or what happened? Because I'm hearing a lot about the CDPs and Hamakua not getting done. Hamakua's one. When it gets done, it's going to be a fabulous CDP, but community development plan. And I'm glad we're taking the time to do it because my district is so big. It has more facilities that are substandard and roads and parks that were handed over to the plantation, and our community lifestyle is so different from many of your districts. So I like the fact that we're taking the time to make sure when we do it right. And I appreciate all the work that our Hamakua CDP people have been. So it's not a flaw that we don't have it done. It's a great thing that we're taking the time to work with, the people who are helping us do this. I just need to understand, because I hear things being thrown out and the public perception of your department not being a good department, So basically what is said is trashing your department. So I'd like to hear from you in response to some of the things that are being said here, because I'm concerned that the public is creating this perception that you're so flawed. Can you respond to that?
I think if you go back to the comprehensive review of 2005, I think in that comprehensive review, there was a lot of focus on elevating the community development plans to more than just plans in the general plan. That focus was also supported by, funding or staffing to move those things along. And so it's, in 2005, there was not this in the previous administration. So they initiated that component, okay? And that was picked up by the current administration. So what you have is the adoption of 5 CDPs, 5 CDPs in 2008, which is, within this comprehensive review time frame. And work on the other 2, Hamakua and Kau, which will finish up this year. So, while it's not a comprehensive review from the letter of the law of what a comprehensive review is supposed to be, in my mind, there was a lot of implementation, general plan implementation within that same time frame that a comprehensive review was supposed to be done. That's
Thank
what
you.
I
I
have to
just
say.
didn't want the public to think that you guys are doing nothing. So, because I know things are being done, and I know how hard we work with our CDPs. So, I just want to say, our CDPs are very valuable, and I appreciate that. And I just wanted to hear your explanation. So, thank you very much.
Point of order, can I just ask exactly, I know Councilmember Kern, you made a motion? I just want to get onto where the procedure, so right now, we're really focused on, should we change the 11 to 13?
Correct.
Okay, so I just moving to, if we could focus on that one point and then move forward, okay.
Okay, that's correct, Ms. Willie. So now I see all these lights popping up. So we're on the amendment. Mr. Onishi, did you talk yet?
Never did yet.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and then, Mr. Lagan spoke, he did.
I did.
Okay,
Okay, thank you. Director Kanuha. Okay, so with this amendment adding 3 years, so this plan's supposed to be due in 2015,
Right now.
right? The way how it is right now. So if we pass this amendment, that'll give you to 2018.
Correct.
Extra 3 years. Okay, but then the administration ends in 2016.
Correct.
So then the next new administration would have to continue with the plan.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. So, would it be, like, I guess, not feasible, but would it, well, I guess staff-wise, your staff is still going to be here, so they're the ones basically doing the work, correct?
It's staff plus, additional funding support for, the specific studies that are necessary to do something as comprehensive.
But then, I mean, but if all that is provided, basically, so this can still continue, because what I wouldn't want to see is that because of new administration coming in, then they're going to tell the next council who's supposed to be there, going to say, oh, we need more time because we have to look over or review what was given to us from the past administration. So that's the part I think we got to watch out too, because there's going to be an overlap. And so in one way I can understand, like Ms. Ford is saying and Ms. Willie, is that, if this could be done, I guess, within maybe this administration, and then that way I think things might work out better. But then do you have any comments about that, like how this overlapping might happen?
16. Comments on how the overlapping may happen? Or?
Like the insurance where, because I can see, like, the director, the deputy director might be not there, right, after 2016. So the new the director and deputy director will be, coming in new, but like your staff, the civil service people will still be there who's working on this plan.
Correct.
So do you think that the transition would be okay, or you might foresee there might be problems, or?
Well, I guess the philosophical answer is a process like this shouldn't be determined by personalities involved, who's there or who's not there, because by the same token, this council will have changed, as well. That's just part of the process. That's why the process itself is so dynamic. So that's why I said, we'll do our best to get it up here as soon as we can, and in the best way we can, because at the end of the day, that's, no matter what the transition is, it's a process that is set up that should carry it forward.
Right. Well, I'm just mentioning that because I can foresee that this situation might happen where the new administration comes in and they're going to come in front of the council and ask for more time. And that's when I think the public, and if there is still council members on, they're going to get a little bit frustrated. Right. And
well, I think at that time, whoever's on the council will have to make a determination in terms of how much was done, how much was accomplished,
and then they can go from there.
Yeah, and make a call
like
from
a piecemeal kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so let me clarify where we're at now. So we are probably on our second or third round.
Second for me.
Second, okay.
Second.
That's true. Ms. Ford is on her second round. So we're on the amendment. Okay, go ahead.
First of all, let me say I don't want the public to misunderstand the inaccuracy of the statement made by Councilmember Poindexter that the CDPs are so fabulous. They are fabulous. We all voted for them. The public demanded them, and we've been doing this for years. At least Jay and I have been doing this for years. But this bill is not about the CDPs. It's about the general plan, and they've done nothing on the general plan. So I have to take exception to what Ms. Poindexter said. I don't want the public to think that they've done nothing. They have done nothing on the general plan. Now we're looking at this amendment. We're looking at this amendment to give them.
We're still on the 13.
I'm talking about the amendment. So on this amendment, we're going to give them 3 more years on the general plan, not on CDPs, on the general plan. Any discussion, including my discussion on the CDPs, is a distraction from what we're doing, the general plan, and that's where nothing has been done. I agree with Mr. Onishi. He nailed this thing. This is going to continue on, and the next councils are going to have to deal with this. This is something we should not be supporting. We should not be allowing any department to get away with doing this. What can we do about it? Nada. There's not a thing we can do about it, except say it's going to stay at 10 years and you better get it done. I still cannot support this amendment. Now we're out 3 years. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Ms. Ford. So we're on our second round on the amendment. We're going to finish up with this, Mr. Lagan, and I'm going to come back this way.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question. That would be year 2017 for 3 years, or 18?
18 would be 3 years.
Would it be 18?
18 would be 18.
Okay.
The amendment, starts the comprehensive would be initiated in 15.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay.
That's not to say resources and funding provided, we couldn't already start doing it, as some of the council people have mentioned.
Okay, we're going to go to Ms. Poindexter and then Ms. Willie.
And I just want to clarify this, because when I talked about the CDPs, the reason why I did, Ms. Ford, Councilmember
order.
Ford.
Hold on,
No,
hold on,
wait.
hold on.
I'm
Hold on.
responding.
Point of
Hold on,
order.
hold on.
I'm responding
Point of
to.
order.
I'm still
Okay.
on this.
Point of
Okay,
order.
recess.
Jay.
You respond. I'm going to respond. Right, then don't do the distraction.
Rewrote it. My amendment takes that whole time period out for the council. And the second thing in terms of time, I would really like to start now. I mean, I'm sort of, and be part of this, not wait until 2015. I would love to have the Cultural Commission working on the cultural part, the Transportation Commission, or even in my district, South Kohala, maybe doing a task force, and not that this waits and starts sometime next year, and push ourselves. And if we need to, we're working away and we can't get something done, okay, but I don't see it as, sometimes things are done as a huge block and the whole block moves on. We could work on some of these parts and at least get them going where we have some really vital and enthusiastic commissions. If we were to make it, instead of the 3 years, if we made it for 12 years, that's saying 2017, you get it to council. It's not that whole additional period that's in there that his chart is taking into account. So I'm really saying two things. I would much prefer, let's go with at least where we're giving them basically an extra 2 years, but at least, and second, I'd like to see it starting right away this July. I feel like, if you don't want to do it, I'll set up a task force and do this. I spent about 5 years with the steering committee working through all of this, and I'd be happy to help. And I think all of these people, whether or the hunting group, there's so many groups right now, and they're really working hard. And I think this would be a great way to focus in. I do agree. The points that both about the CDPs is a valid point. We are implementing them, and that's true. But they're also two different. They're sort of two different assignments. So I think that really all of the points have been very valid, and we're just really, how do we balance them? So I will, if need be, support that. I would encourage it to be a year less and then deal with it at that point if we really have to, and push ourselves to get going now. If we wait till sometime in 2015, then I think we really do need that I'm okay with the extra year, but I'd like to see it, let's start in July. Let's get doing what we were supposed to be doing 3 years prior to this. Thank you. So-
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Willie. Ms. Seoff.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to thank Ms. Willie for bringing this amendment forward, and I wanted to thank Mr. Kanuha for helping us define a realistic date or time frame so that we can close the review period and not leave it open-ended as it was originally given to us. So I appreciate this discussion. I think the CDPs have given us ways to review the general plan with, going into the comprehensive review period, and that's been a great help. And I think Mr. Kanuha, Director Kanuha and this administration, I would hope that they are able to complete this process before the administration changes. So I guess with that, I just wanted to say I support this amendment,
Okay, thank you,
the way
Ms.
it's
Seoff.
amended,
Oh,
the amendment to the amendment.
thank you. Okay, Mr. Kern, did you want to speak, or are we? We've done, I think, 2 rounds. I'm going to wrap it up. Final comments, please keep it short because we want to finish the agenda. Any other comments on the amendment? Okay, so we're voting on the motion made by Mr. Kern to change the 11 to 13 years. Okay, let's take a roll call vote. Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Seoff,
Aye.
Ms. Ford,
No.
Mr. Iligan,
Aye.
Mr. Kanuha, Mr. Kern, Mr. Nishi,
Aye.
Ms. Poindexter,
Aye.
Ms. Willie,
Aye.
Chair Yoshimoto.
Aye.
Chair Yoshimoto, you have 8 ayes and 1 no.
Okay, so the motion passes. So now we're back to the main motion as amended. No, we're not.
No. This as amended.
Excuse me. Oh, I'm getting lost here. Yes, we're back to communication. Okay, so we're back to Bill 239 as amended with the contents. Excuse me, I am lost here.
Okay.
We're,
Let me give it a shot. We are now back to Communication 819.1 as amended.
As amended, yep. That's what I was trying to get to. It just didn't come out of my mouth. I'm hungry. Okay. So any discussion? Ms. Willie?
Yeah.
As amended.
As amended, and like I said, I will go along with this, but I really would like to urge that we start July and thinking about it and moving on, and not be, we don't have to start until 2015, and get the momentum going and show people that we really care about this and not just putting it off. So I'm not asking for any changes to be made here. I'm just asking for, together we can kind of spirit, and that keep us involved. And Councilmember Onishi's laughing, but I know he agrees.
with you.
I know, that's what I was going to say, but he agrees with me. Okay, so thank you very much, and I think I no more reason to speak.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Willie. Okay, any other discussion? If not, all those in favor of Bill 239 as amended, say aye.
No, no, excuse me, point of order.
Sorry. On the amendment as amended. Gotcha.
This, okay,
On communication 819.1
as amended.
as amended.
Thank you.
Can we go now? Say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Okay, Ms. Ford votes no. Okay, now we're back to the main motion.
I just said,
No, 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 I'm kidding. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr.
no, I
Onishi.
yield.
No? Okay. Okay. So we're on Bill 239 as amended. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Yes, I'm opposed. The answer is no, I'm not voting for this.
Okay, was 1 no. Okay. Thank you, council members. Mr. Iligan.
May I make a suggestion to have an early lunch and come back at 1:15?
Well, no, I think should be pretty straightforward unless, okay. Mr. Clerk, next item.
Bill 240 amends Chapter 24, Article 11, Division 1, Section 24-300 of the Hawaii County Code, 1983, 2005 edition as amended relating to speed limits on private streets. Add certain streets in the Ferd Acres subdivision to Schedule 4, 25 mile per hour limit, subsection G, Puna. Reference Communication 820, introduced by Mr. Kern, approved PWPRC-69.
Mr. Kern,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Move to approve Bill 240.
Second.
any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item.
Bill 242 amends ordinance number 13-66 as amended relating to public improvements and financing thereof for the fiscal year July 1, 2013 to June 30th, 2014. Adds the public works, liquor control, hazardous material mitigation and improvements. Private project for $1,803,000 to the capital budget. Funds for the project shall be provided from private contributions, liquor percentage fees, $1,803,000. Funds would be used to remove asbestos, mold, and mildew from the Liquor Control Department's office area and to renovate the department's conference room according to the Americans with Disabilities Act standards. Reference Communication 825, introduced by Ms. Poindexter, approved FC 169. Note, requires 2/3 vote of the entire membership to amend pursuant to Section 10-6E of the Hawaii County Charter.
Ms. Poindexter.
Motion to approve Bill 242.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Kern, I believe. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next item.
Bill 250 amends ordinance number 13-65 as amended the operating budget for the County of Hawaii for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2014. Increases revenues in the state grants, wireless enhanced 911E 911 fees account, $3,100,000, and appropriates same to the wireless E911 account. Funds would be used to increase the pictometry imagery for the police department's E911 system, upgrade and maintenance and maintain the current system, and cover monthly travel expenses to attend E911 wireless meetings. Reference Communication 868, introduced by Ms. Poindexter, waived FC.
Ms. Poindexter.
Motion to approve Bill 250.
Seconded by Mr. Kanuha. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Bill 251 amends ordinance number 13-65 as amended the operating budget for the County of Hawaii for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2014. Appropriates revenues in the state grants, Department of Human Services, DHS Youth Activities Crime Prevention Grant account $10,000 and appropriates the same to the DHS Youth Activities Crime Prevention Grant account. Funds would be used to support youth activities in Hawaii County. Reference Communication 869, introduced by Ms. Poindexter, waived FC.
Ms. Poindexter.
Motion to approve Bill 251.
Seconded by Mr. Ilagan. Any discussion? Mr. Onishi.
Thank you, Chair. Would any council member know what is this? Like, because I read the bill and it doesn't specify who the money is going to go to. Like,
I thought it was, okay.
Go ahead, Ms. Poindexter.
I thought the youth activities crime was going to go to the prosecutor's office. That was my,
Early in the agenda, yeah?
yeah.
Okay, not like to the police department.
To Department of DHS.
That's coming from them.
Yeah, it's coming from DHS.
Yeah.
I thought it was. Is, would know would be finance department. Is finance department?
Well, I just was wondering because,
Yeah, I thought it was in the prosecutor.